savings to startups, navigating your financial journey.
And assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Imtiaz Hendricks here, only found the voice to 91.3 FM studio. We are on our Money Matters program, dealing with the psychology and relationships with money. That is sort of the base tenet of our program, with the Faldifan Lily with us on technical work. And we also have with us, once again, the high in demand too. Gentlemen, they don't like it when I say experts and professionals, so I'll say it anyway, alhamdulillah. Nafis Nasi Muhammad and also Ali Sali. MashaAllah, gentlemen, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Imtiaz, happy to be back.
Yes, and I'm always excited to have the two gentlemen here with me today. And it was really amazing to see the two of you in a different kind of setting. Thank you so much for so these two gentlemen invited me to a very powerful networking program, and that gave me a very good idea of these I was going to say young men, but young in spirit, I could say, you know. But it just gave me a very good description of how these two gentlemen are really not only talkers, but they are walkers. And I feel that in a program like this, we're not only wanting to stimulate you with a lot of good ideas and cool scenarios, but Ali, it's really about action taking as well. That's what we promote. And upon our second meeting, immediately Ali says, Imtiaz, I need you to come here. And we went there, and it was such a powerful experience for me to see these two guys in action doing their thing. And I really felt like, you know what, this Money Matters must be more than just talk. You know, it has to be.
Absolutely.
We have reached that stage now. What are some of the things that usually happens, Ali, when people have an idea, they get excited about something, whether it is investing, whether it's about maximizing their financial profits, or whether it is about, you know, starting to save better or starting to have better financial plan. What is it about the person that fails to take action and just finds no results? Have you ever met or maybe a previous experience on your end even regarding this scenario?
You know, Imtiaz, again, you know, fantastic show, Money Matters. I love what you guys are doing. Amazing. Keep up the good work. But thanks for the introduction, and a couple of things that you touched on. So, you know, you mentioned the psychology of money, and I'm really looking forward to getting into that this evening, because, you know, when we talk about money, there's definitely a psychological aspect to it, and dealing with money, making money, and also your mindset, right? So that prosperity mindset, you know,
Yes.
Having that prosperity mindset, always thinking that money is going to flow to you.
Wowza.
You know, wowza, exactly that.
I had no other word.
These are
I'm very interested to actually hear that concept. You said the prospect of
the prosperity mindset.
prosperity.
The prosperity mindset, right? So it's about belief that, you know, the actions that you take. So again, coming back to one of the things that you mentioned, you see, a lot of people have great ideas, but they don't necessarily take or put the actions in place for them to achieve with the ideas, right? So they say, you know what, when someone else creates something, they say, you know what, I've always had that idea, and there's that guy, he just did it. You know, and so you know, we have so many great ideas, but so what we need to do is we need to write it down. We need to put it on paper. We need to do that on a daily basis, and we need to write it down in a positive way.
Okay.
In terms of, you can call it an affirmation in many cases.
Okay.
Where you say, when this comes down to the psychology of money, and that's where you get that prosperity mindset, because what you're doing is you are creating these thoughts into your subconscious, in a sense, to say, you know what, I am wealthy, I am successful, I am going to achieve, I am going to do these things. And every morning when you wake up, when you start manifesting these things, what you find is that your ideas now with action start to manifest, right? And so now you start to see things happening. So when you talked about, you know, the networking group that we invited you to, the Muslim Business Network, right?
Okay.
This has been a thought that I've had for more than 10 years. Right?
Really?
Yeah. So I'm actually maybe guilty of the same thing, because I've had this idea.
10 years. So what would have sparked like such an idea, such a setting, you know, an environment, a community? Like, where did that come from?
So maybe give you a bit of a backstory. I worked in the US, right? And when I was a young man, I was in my 20s, and I moved to the US, and I needed to bring in, clients with large sums of money, right? And I need to generate, because I need to get flows, because I worked for a bank, right?
Okay.
And so I needed to get high net worth clients, and I needed to find a way. But I was living in Los Angeles, and I was from Cape Town,
Yeah.
and I was young, and I didn't have anyone that I really knew. I moved to a new city, and so I needed to find a way to generate business, right, and be successful. And I was approached by someone who then came to me and said, "Hey, don't you want to join our network?"
Wasn't nice, if not.
No, this wasn't nice. And I joined this network, and I saw how successful people became just by being part of this network.
I see. So you had first-hand experience.
And I had first-hand experience, and I saw that it worked. And then I had this idea when I moved back to Cape Town. I said, wouldn't this be great to do this in maybe an Islamic setting, for example, where Muslim businesses and professionals are looking out for each other,
Yes.
and trying to generate opportunities for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it was through, some interactions that I've had with some of the local business people and professionals over the last few, let's say, months or so,
Okay.
that I said, you know what, I should take this idea and I should follow my own advice and I should take action. And then we decided to get this going. And it always comes down to, and Hasi will touch on this as well, that you are only as wealthy as your network. So the people that are in your network and the people that you surround yourself with, those are the types of people that are going to have the most influence on you. And if you surround yourself with the right people, you are more than likely to be successful.
Yeah. Nassim, just taking that particular conversation, I mean, I would assume that Ali came to you with this initiative, with this idea. What was your initial thoughts?
Look,
Because I mean, I would imagine Faber and Cafe presents a similar model of all of these financial experts coming together and assisting the community in their financial concerns and their endeavors. So it's sort of a financial networking community that you've maybe developed, Nasif. So I really want to understand what your take on Ali's more expansive conversation around this concept was.
so the important thing, and I want to elaborate on what Ali says. So Ali invited me to his networking sessions, and it's brilliant. I'll use an analogy of why I say it's actually important to be in the right environment. If you take a bottle of water and you go to a shop, it costs you 8 rand. If you go to a hotel, that same bottle of water is 30 rand.
Correct.
You go to a place, if you're flying to Joburg or anywhere in the world, that same bottle of water is going to cost you 50 rand. So what has changed? The bottle is the same, the water is the same. It's the environment. So the same speaks to us as individuals.
Is that the wisdom Ali coming forward? Okay. Sorry to disturb you.
No.
Yeah.
And for me, it's important if you surround yourself with strong-minded individuals. That's where you're going to feed. You must be in a room with people that you can learn from. It's only going to work in a sense like, if I sit with Ali and I see all the business, all the individuals that's in that network, you can learn from each other. So you have to feed from someone else. It empowers you as an individual. So the same speaks to anything you do in life. I mean, if you're sitting in someone else's conversation, there must be value in it for you. That's why you're sitting in the conversation. Same with your finances, same with everything. It speaks to everything that you actually do in life. So just being part of a network where you have a group of individuals that you can trust, when you refer a client, when they send business to you, they know what the expectation is and they know what they're going to get from the next business owner or the next individual that they're sending a referral to. So it's important.
Wow. Nothing changes but the environment. I mean, that concept, it defines the very idea of what networking is. The conversation here, maximizing your growth in investments and in considering the Islamic principles. Now, I remember we had a conversation last week as well when a message came through, and I encourage everybody to come forward, send through their messages. I know some of you have expressed your delight in our conversation that we've been having for the past 2 weeks, ever since the return of Money Matters with myself, where that has been concerned. I really wanted to get into that conversation of when the gentleman that came forward, paraplegic, mentions that he had a 5,000 Rand, and what does he do with that money, right? We expounded on a few different concepts. So Ali mentioned a few considerations. I had my notes taken here, but I left that one with me on the other side. If there are more questions like that, we'll carry on with that conversation further. If I have money, what do I do with it? Where do I put it? Somebody else mentioned before that if I have 1,000 Rand and I'm trying to save it every single month for 12 months, I'm not going to receive the same value. It's going to be 1,200 Rand, but the inflation has been increased to such a level that it's not going to carry the same value as when I started with the initiative 12 months prior.
And okay, so now we're moving over to the conversation around investing, right? And when you find that you sit with a financial advisor or wealth manager or anyone in the financial industry who provides advice, one of the biggest concerns that you find that they always bring up is inflation. So I'm very glad that you brought up inflation, because look, we say that inflation is somewhere between 6%, but when we look at our basket of goods and when we go shopping, we see that some of the food products and things that we used to buy maybe a year or two ago, sometimes it feels like it's a bit higher than that. 5% or 6%
really
number
does.
because that same grocery basket that you used to fill is now costing you so much more, right? And that's inflation, right? That's inflation. That is how inflation eats into your wealth, and that is why it's so important again to have that goal and that plan in place, because the idea is always to beat out inflation plus, right? And when I say plus, is to say, okay, well, if I invest that amount of money, whatever it may be, 100 Rand, 1,000 Rand, whatever it is, I need to know that inflation is, if it's at 6%, okay, just to make sure that I maintain the spending power of my money, right? 12 months down the line, I need to at least get 6% minimum. That's just to make
How's
sure.
that numbers?
That's just
is that good to match? I mean, I know they spoke about some Muslim or rather Islamic investment opportunities. I mean, it maybe does not sit at 6%. Maybe it's at 3 or 4.
Yes. So if you look at the average returns on investments, it talks to an individual's risk tolerance.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example of one. Hypothetically, if you want to invest 500 Rand a month for say 5 years, and you're looking at an average return of about 8%.
Okay.
After 5 years, the compounding effect of 500 Rand per month over 5 years, you're looking at roughly about say plus minus 36,000 Rand. So use that as an example.
Is that with the investment
profit?
With the profit added?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're looking at plus minus 36%. So you take, Ali decides his goal is to go on Umrah in the next 5 years.
Okay.
So average cost of Umrah, say plus minus 30,000 Rand currently in present value.
Correct.
Ali says I can only afford 500 Rand, but if he invests based on the investment, risk tolerance, and his goal, and all that taken into consideration, and he reaches a return of about 8% per annum.
Okay.
In 5 years' time, he'll have 36,000 Rand. So a lot of people, or I would say a lot of individuals, believe it's not achievable, but it depends on the goal. It depends on what you're striving to achieve. So you must have a goal in mind. Why are you investing?
Why are you investing? What's the amount you're looking? Because I know we spoke about this last week, and it is in direct correlation with knowing your goal. Because you yourself and Ali mentioned this as well. So it's in direct correlation, referring to when you see 2-3 months of it not doing so good, is your reason strong enough to still keep those funds in?
And that comes back to the conversation around time horizon, right? So if like Nasib mentioned in the example now of saving for Umrah and putting away the 500 Rand, and it's over a period of 5 years. So if you know that the market has not been doing that well over the last 2 or 3 months, but you have a 5-year plan in place, you're saying I'm not worried about the next 3 months, because my goal is in 5 years' time I need to achieve that. So at the end of the year, I'm going to look at my investment. I'm going to say to Nasif, are we still on track? Okay, Nasif's going to say, actually, yes, because those 3 months weren't doing so well, but the 2 months after actually kind of made up for it. Yeah, so on average, you know, by the end of the year, we're still at that 8% mark, right? So then it looks like we're still on track. Or it could be that Nasif says, you know what, I'm looking at what you currently invested in, and when we looked at the when it comes to review time, and we're looking at your portfolio, you're actually sitting over the last few years at 6%. We are going to have to make adjustments now, and you are going to try to maybe put in another 50 rand additionally.
Okay.
And we are maybe going to have to make some adjustments to the investment, underlying investment, to make sure, because this investment is doing a bit better. So we're going to take a portion of your funds and we're going to add another investment to it, and we're going to see how that performs over the next 6 months, and we're going to see if that helps.
It's a very
you get
hands-on
to your goal.
approach. So it's like continuous managing and monitoring what's happening. But you don't have to do that because you have the
Financial advisor.
financial advisor to see those
So
things.
important to add to that is the product that you're putting your money in also. Because certain products have restrictions. And you also need to look at the costing of the product in itself. Because in certain investments, there's admin fees, management fees, and then you also get advisor fees. So it's important to take all those things into consideration.
Yeah. Wow. Well, okay, that's another span in the works between us. I wanted to wrap it up now on that, but I think I just want to get a bit more into that fees that you're talking about, because that's an additional expense. Okay, this is a very practical. I like that you use the Umrah example, because that's exactly what people are aiming for. That's exactly what they're planning for. I mean, in most Islamic planning, right, and investing, that's what you want to do. You want to go and you want to travel. Let's come back to that inshallah after album. We do come back more of Money Matters. Don't go anywhere. We're waiting for your questions. Shukran.